The Santita Jackson Show.
You can bring it up just a little bit. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station. I am Santita Jackson. It's a joy to be with you today. What are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about, the law enforcement's involvement in January 6th. That's something that's not getting a lot of attention, but it should. It should. Indeed, we're going to be talking about that today with a wonderful panel. And we're going to be talking about Stacey Abrams and Raphael Warnock and Herschel Walker and Brian Kemp. That is where all eyes are going to be focused in the fall. I mean, there's something about what's happening in Georgia. You basically have two black men running for the U.S. Senate seat. Who would have thought that would have happened? Well, quite frankly, it was something that we saw that Reverend Jesse Jackson and others foresaw in 40 years ago, and then some in Dr. King. They said this would be a rainbow nation, and that's what it is. That's what it is. And then we would see a day where we'd have a very conservative, right-wing black person up against a progressive black preacher who inherited the church of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, his spiritual mission. You can't make this stuff up. But then what about Brian Kemp? The governor has done some things that has won him some more black support. Then black support is also being peeled off by disappointment in what the Biden administration has not done. There's a lot going on. But let's first look at what's happening with the law enforcement and their involvement in the January 6th riots. We have got to talk about that. And then, of course, our latest COVID-19 news, and Pastor Tisha Dixon Williams. Cannot wait to hear from her today. Going to be tomorrow morning.
joining us at our conference. And if you want to hear her and experience Who's That Lady in the Hamptons, go to who'sthatladymen.com, click Who's That Lady in the Hamptons, and register. The great news is it's hybrid. So you don't have to be here in person. You can join us online. So I hope you all will tune in.
Oh, it's going to be something fantastic. It's going to be something fantastic, and people are going to be very inspired. Who is giving the sermon at the end of the conference?
So the sermon at the end of the conference is Reverend Sheree Jones out of Queens, New York. She is a gifted preacher, pastor. She is the curator of a movement called Thrive Time, where she teaches people not to just survive, but to thrive. And she also has a new book out called Lord, You Know, Inspirations from 3-Word Prayers, and she's going to be our closing speaker.
Amen to that. Please, everybody, get on out and get on up on your phones and all of your devices so that you can be a part of this conference tomorrow. What's the good news, Pastor?
So there are so many things going on in the world, and I know often we struggle as humans with indecision. In and then we're out. We're up and then we're down. But the text in James tells us that a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. I've been preaching a summer game series, and one of the things I want to highlight today is the hokey pokey. When I was younger, the summer was good for at least one hokey pokey, whether it was a vacation Bible school or whether it was in summer camp. We were going to do the hokey pokey at least once. But I'd like to submit to you today that although we think the last time we did the hokey pokey was when we were 5 years old, I want you to know that we still do it every single day. Every single day, we struggle with indecision. Can I prove it? We do the hokey pokey on our job. You put the resignation in, you take the resignation out. You put the resignation in, then you wrestle with your doubt. They offer you more money and you're scared to turn it down. That's what it's all about. We do the hokey pokey with our finances. You put the money in, you take the money out. You put the money in, then you wrestle with your doubt. You can't afford a new car, but you put the money down. That's what it's all about.
Hey.
Even in church, you put your membership in. Membership out. You put your membership in, then you wrestle with your doubt. You decide to leave the church because they don't make you shout. That's what it's all about. And Santita, we even see in our government, they play hokey pokey in politics. They put the policies in, they take the policies out. They put the policies in, then they wrestle with their doubt. They determine who might benefit, then turn the others down. That's what it's all about. You guys, the hokey pokey is relevant whether you are 5 or 50. We always wrestle with indecision. But the text goes on to tell us that we need wisdom. We need wisdom in order to stabilize us. And those of us who need wisdom, we ought to ask God for it. If any of you lack wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously without finding fault, and it will be given unto you. What are you saying? I'm saying that God, unlike people, is not insulted by your ignorance. God is not offended by your obliviousness. God is not mocked by your mental incapacity. If you want wisdom, ask for it. You know, I love to go out to dinner, Santita, but the one thing I can't stand when I go out to eat is a wobbly table leg. Oh, it annoys me and upsets every one of my senses because I've come to enjoy a meal. But what happens is if the table is wobbly, it forces me to have to lean in order to stabilize it. And the challenge with that is while I'm leaning in, there are precious items on my table. My food is on the table. My bread is on the table. My wine is on the table. And I don't want to run the risk of those being spilled. And so I have to lean in order to hold the table down. I want you guys to know today that we are that table. We are unstable. We run the risk of losing everything that God has set before us. And so like that wobbly table, every once in a while, God has got to lean in on us in order to stabilize us, that we might live a more stable and dedicated life. But the other part is if you can't lean on the table to adjust it, you can put something under it and lift it. And that's also what God does. Aren't you grateful today for a God that not only leans in, but lifts us when we are unstable, lifts us when we're wobbling from to and fro? So I just want to say to those people who are wrestling with their doubt, you can get stable today because we have a God who leans in and lifts up. And that's the good news.
Amen to that. I love that. I love that. The hokey pokey. I'll never look at it the same way. But that is what we do. We wrestle with indecision and doubt. I think I'm going to be talking about something like that tomorrow. And really I'm very, very excited. Very, very excited. Even as I'm going to be, on my way to my aunt's funeral. And please pray for my family because it's at losing that wobbly table or one of the legs. Well, just went on away, and that was my aunt Evelyn, and I'm just sending her much love, and my preaching cousin Lisa, and my wonderful cousin Reggie, also known as Wedgie, don't ask why, and Najma, and my uncle Chris, and my aunts Ella and Liz. It'll be a family reunion. You never want to have family reunions like this, but this is the way it works, everybody. This is the way it works. But this is going to be a fantastic conference. Again, how can we be a part of it tomorrow?
So go to who'sthatladymen.com, click on Who's That Lady in the Hamptons, and you will be able to register. You're welcome to fly to New York between now and tomorrow. But if you can, click the virtual option, and you'll be able to plug in with us virtually. We're going to have a wonderful time.
I was supposed to be there this weekend. Oh.
And you will still be there.
Oh, I will. But I'll be coming back, everybody. But sending you much love. And of course, your book, Who's That Lady? Excuse me. I see you, sis. How can we get your book?
I See You, Sis is available on Amazon. I See You, Sis, Inspirations from Heroic Women of the Bible, hidden in plain sight. And again, you can grab your copies on Amazon. And Santita, we are certainly praying for you and with you and sending you tons of love and light.
Thank you so much. Need it all. And let's do that with each other, everybody. Whatever, either Reverend Clay Evans, my pastor, said you're in three positions in life. You're either coming out of a storm, you're on your way into a storm, or you are in one. So I'm just praying for everybody today because everybody is in one of those three positions. Sending you much love. Pastor Tisha Dixon Williams, everybody. Well, of course, we have got Dr. Shanina Knighton here with us, tearing away from her tremendous position as the executive director of APIC's new Center for IPC Research, Practice, and Innovation. We're so proud of her, so excited that she has this global platform for epidemiologists and infection preventionists, and more than that, for you. What's on your mind today? Everyone's talking about monkeypox. COVID-19 is here with us, and we're worried about the children getting the monkeypox, and we're worried about polio that we're finding in the water in New York. And it's just, my goodness, and they're talking about more and more vaccines. What are we to do? How does one protect oneself? What are we to do?
Understandable, Santita. Honestly, that's what we should all be thinking about in regards to what should we be doing, right? Because there is so much that's going on. And it seems like there's a lot going on all at once, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that I think is most important for us all to think about is not necessarily how did we get in this situation, but what are the cumulative things that put us in this situation, right? And when I bring that up, I bring up the fact that right now we are in I would say, inopportune cluster of problems that have occurred. So whether we're talking about, let's say, personal protective equipment shortages in hospitals, we're talking about a shortage of healthcare staff, right? We're talking about a food chain shortage, but just a supply chain shortage of like supplies that we would typically get. We look at the number of individuals that have passed away, and when you think about that, a lot of those individuals likely occupied jobs that only they were taught how to do because they were in that job, right, for 20, 30, 40 years, and then didn't train anyone up to be able to do their same responsibilities because they were so valuable. We also have the issue again, and I brought this up yesterday, about animals and the fact that when you have animals that are subjected to climate change, which could be, let's say, that tornado that ended up running through a farm where the cattle itself ended up in sand and water and ended up with some sort of infectious disease that then had to be treated with an antibiotic or a vaccine, but still maybe wasn't well. And we think about how that stuff ends up translating over to people in a different form of a disease or an infection or a germ. We think about the water that we're subjected to, right? Things being backed up in sewers because of the storms that we're subjected to. There are so many things that are going on right now that leads us to why there are multiple pathogens floating around right now. This is something, believe it or not, that's been said, it's been predicted, it's been discussed, like even in years to past up until now. So none of it's surprising, but the question comes is how do you manage it? And the thing is understanding to stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And we're not going to be perfect, Santita, but I mentioned before that sometimes when you think about what's in your toolkit, I can clean my hands. I can make sure that I'm wiping down surfaces. I can make sure that I'm cleaning my hands after touching certain surfaces and before touching surfaces. I can now, like I've been given the gift of a mask, right, and understanding how masks work. Well, it's not to say for everyone that chooses not to wear them all the time. That is a piece of protective equipment that can then protect you from other illnesses if you are out in public in big crowds or in areas where you just don't feel safe because there are potential droplets, right? So we have these tools. We understand how important physically distancing can be at times. We know that, we know length of time that certain germs can live on surfaces, that it can live inside the environment. So now we understand some of those basic things. The question is can I apply these and still be able to increase my safety? And the question is going to be yes, because we were able to do it even without having a vaccine available at that time. Now, again, as you mentioned, we're talking about vaccine shortages of monkeypox. We're talking about monkeypox being a contact-to-contact, illness for the most part. So what do you do with that? You think about those same practices early on in the pandemic. You think about the same practices that state wrote guidelines for in order for people to practice. And you ask yourself, how do I revert back to those behaviors that kept me safe, even though I, as an individual, may have seen them as being an inconvenience? I've been saying this for a long time now, and I said people need to learn how to incorporate infection prevention and control practices into their daily lives, opposed to acting as if it is a burden. That burden is what can save your life. It's the same way as our parents telling us to sit down and eat our vegetables, and we kick and scream, but we don't understand the nutrients that they provide until we've been plagued with not eating them and then face different levels of chronic diseases and illnesses as a result of not having that balance. This is the same exact thing. So I always tell people to stay ready so we don't have to get ready. One of the things is I'm talking about lifestyle habits, Santita, and we're talking about monkeypox. I just want to drop one tidbit within this next minute, and that's to remind people about fitness facilities. Fitness facilities, areas of where you're going to sweat, areas of where you may come in contact with someone else's sweat, somebody else's bodily fluids. Right now, during the time of monkeypox, is going to be very important. I'm saying that to mean that you want to make sure that you are disinfecting machines before and after you are using them. You are conscious about being around individuals and the possibility that their sweat may be flying. If you are doing some sort of group aerobics, understand that if you will be touching the same floor that with your hands or your body, that someone else's hands or body touch their floor, you are at increased risk of being able to get monkeypox. I know that this is not something that is being talked about right now, but my brain can put two and two together, and we can understand that surfaces, whether it's hard surfaces and skin, do not mix. But we have to think about what are situations for which those droplets can accumulate, and fitness facilities would be one of them. So I know that it's not on anyone's radar right now. I know it has not come up. However, when I think about best practices are going to be contextual. If you are participating in terms of machines, making sure that you wash the machines down and stop assuming that they are being cleaned adequately. And if you're doing group fitness, making sure that your hands minimally and body minimally are touching the floor. And if anything, make sure that you have a mat that you are taking with you But even with that mat, I would be folding that mat in half opposed to rolling it up right now, because as you roll it up, those germs still get on the inside of the mat. Monkeypox, Santita, what CDC posted was that it can live on surfaces for up to 15 days. And because it can live on surfaces for up to 15 days, that's a long, long time compared to what COVID was greater than 4 days.
Well, hold on, because I've got about really 15 seconds. What about public toilets?
Yes. Public toilets, same exact thing. Same exact thing. So definitely a lot to be cautious about. It would be the same thing. Make sure you lining it. Make sure that you squatting and trying not to sit on it to where your skin doesn't touch those surfaces. Mm-hmm. Very important topic, Santita. Something I absolutely will be putting information about in terms of some sort of steps. So look for that to come from the Association for Professionals in Infection Control and Epidemiology, because I will be sending that information over to our PR person and our communications person with hopes that they'll share that with the public.
They've got to do that. Dr. Sheena Knighton at Hey Dr. Nina, everybody. Let's talk about midterms 2020. Back in just a minute. Oh, I'm sorry, honey. I was pushing you, but I was
I know.
I'm sorry, honey, because I got that hard break. But you're doing okay?
Oh, I'm doing great. I can't complain. I cannot. Work definitely keeping me busy. I know what I'm getting ready to do, like within this next hour, is push out some more materials. But this is the reality.
Absolutely. And so, honey, that is just how it is. Okay, wait.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Nope, it's an interesting time right now, but
Ms. Wells is on the line.
Okay, thank you.
Recognize we just have to do the best we can.
Honey, that's all you can do, because that is that's a real thing. I mean, everybody I know is under a lot of pressure. And that's just it. It's just there's a lot of pressure out here. You gotta take care of yourself, because the pressure is not going to let up. That's not going to happen.
Attorney Jones is on the line.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Okay. So, Attorney Jones, how are you?
Hey, good morning, Santita. I'm fine, thank you.
Good. We'll pivot off of your article that you sent me, okay?
Okay.
You can explain what you have seen. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to pull something up. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Okay.
No answer from Attorney Connolly.
Okay.
Back in 30.
Thank you.
We can change the world, change the world, change the world. We can change the world, we change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world. I am green.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show. Let's talk about law enforcement and their involvement in January 6th. I mean, there's some video that has been caught that's evidence of that. It's very, it's interesting, it's dangerous, and we need to talk about it. I think that this is a far more involved, many more people and many more institutions were involved in January 6th. Than we care to admit. It turns out the Secret Service sat on some information about this. One has to find out what happened with Mitch McConnell. The sergeant at arms is answerable to him. They had heard about these security threats. Why didn't Mitch McConnell do anything about it? Nancy Pelosi, for that matter, but really Mitch McConnell, because he is that guy in the U.S. Senate. There is so much going on. But everybody, let's talk about this at 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278. And we're going to be talking about politics in Georgia. All eyes are on Georgia. Will Stacey Abrams win against Brian Kemp? Will Herschel Walker triumph over Senator Raphael Warnock? And what is the problem that Stacey Abrams is having with black men? She specifically has been having black men's events because she's not gaining. She has the majority of their support, but she's not getting the enthusiastic, necessary support that she absolutely needs. One of the things that I learned from Reverend Jackson, attorney Daryl Jones, and Mrs. Chaparral Wells is that you need an enthusiastic 90+% of the black vote as a black candidate to win. Always. You need that. You really, really need that. And what's going on? She says, if black men vote for me, I'll win Georgia, implying, and we should infer, that, black men kind of broke for Brian Kemp by about 12%. In the last election in 2018. Going to talk about that. We're going to be talking about law enforcement in just a hot second. But first, Daryl Jones, we've got Chaparral Wells. When you come back to Chicago, she's going to make you a nice vegetarian loaf of something. Chaparral, what's on your mind today, girlie?
Good morning, Santita. And yes, the celebrations by us, we're going to take care of Daryl Jones for sure. Get him some sweet potato biscuits and all of his trimmings that he needs. And we are definitely still in business, and we're taking your orders today. Right now, we're getting ready to do some oxtails for Santita. So we're getting set for that, as well as also some greens, so we can have it for you for Sunday. And we're still taking orders, so we're still doing our food and decor. So don't hesitate to give us a call at 708-526-4546. 708-526-4546. We do your complete balloon arches, as well as also your custom sweet tables, your treats, as well as also your full meals, your green beans, your greens, your mac and cheese, your sweet tables, as well as all of anything that you would need for your holiday needs. We're taking orders now for Labor Day, so don't hesitate to give us a call. 708-526-4546. We look forward to serving you.
I love it. And I cannot. So when am I getting my oxtails?
On Sunday, I'm going to bring them to KHA.
Thank you. Oh, Daryl, you should be in town. Sorry, you're going to miss those. But he probably doesn't need oxtails. He's a marathoner, but that's all right. I'll eat them for him. Everybody, call us at 773-76278. On and on. We're seeing more and more evidence of participation with law enforcement, by law enforcement, in this January 6th Capitol Hill riot. Indeed, there's a news story from the Citizens for Ethics, everybody, that says that the Secret Service knew about the January 6th threat, but they dismissed it. In the days before the January 6th attack on the Capitol, documents exchanged between the Secret Service and other law enforcement agencies outlined, quote, threats of violence. Threats of violence. And on the 6th of January, coming predominantly from right-wing groups with plans to bring weapons into the district. According to documents from this organization, the Secret Service knew that President Trump supporters would be demonstrating around Freedom Plaza and the Capitol with intent to cause violence, but the agency does not appear to have taken the threat seriously. And then we see that there are these Florida sheriffs who've done what? Attorney Darrell Jones, chairman of the Transformative Justice Coalition.
Oh, my goodness, Santita. Good morning. The more we learn, the more incredible the story becomes. Mm-hmm. What is now surfaced in called the Raw story is that there was video footage that had come through, and there are these Florida sheriffs, and what they did was that they were actually training these right-wing groups on what to do once they got to Washington and to the Capitol on January the 6th. And, the Sheriff's Department is out of Flagler County. And in Flagler County, they had a Homeland Security Division. And that Homeland Security Division actually trained these right-wing militias, or whatever you want to call them, junta, on packing body armor and the mace and the knives, as well as the tactical things once they're inside the Capitol on what to do. And it's just amazing to see that this law enforcement agency was arming these folks and educating and training these sheriffs and these other folks that were going to the Capitol to cause these issues on how to do it. Informing them the helmets to bring, the body armor, the pepper spray, all of this stuff is what they were doing, and showing them the best way to do it. How to defend themselves, how to do the tactical things once you're inside of the Capitol. That's what was scary about all of this. Just incredible.
Well, what's amazing I had, of course, the co-founder of Veteran Intelligence Professionals for Sanity, Ray McGovern. And Ray McGovern, who was he? He was the man who briefed the CIA analyst who briefed the president. The president is briefed by the CIA every morning. He was who briefed our president, was part of that group for more than 3 decades. And so I asked him, what happened? When this first happened, I said, hey, I need to go to someone in the intelligence community if they are inclined to speak to me, and particularly given his reputation as someone who's a bit of an iconoclast, because he has been pushing for them to do right and to be right, right? Well, guess what? He said, well, he said, I'm not an active member of the CIA anymore. Okay. He said, but I did speak to some of my friends who are, and I asked them what's going on. Because, of course, he would want to know, right, Darrell? I mean, he's like, okay, because that's his space. Then anyone, you're a DC man. Anyone who's in DC, DC is a government town. It is full of police, intelligence officers, people who lead coups, who've had coups led on them. That's what you see. A person who my baby sister Jackie made me holler one day. She said, the funny thing about living in D.C., because she lived in D.C. for a while. She went to high school there and all of that. She said, a person you can see on the bus stop today can be the head of government tomorrow. You just never know. And he said he let us know then, Darrell, that there are more than about 2,400 to 2,500 Capitol Hill police officers. Only a fourth of them were there that day. I mean, it's just, that's one of the things that I've been looking at. I'm like, there's a lot about this riot. I mean, there's some questions that are not being asked that, are a little unsettling to me because, and then when I look at the Secret Service getting this information. And when I understand that the FBI, the groups that they infiltrated, the groups that they infiltrate today are primarily left wing. Daryl, it's the Black Lives Matter, it's the peace movement. They don't infiltrate the law enforcement because I guess it is them. Because you also know you can't go through the Capitol, Daryl, unless you know it. It's a crazy structure. You will get it will take you a long time to master not just above ground but below ground. Oh my gosh. Because between all of those buildings, from all of them, from one side of the hill to the next, you never have to go outside ever. It's a city underneath the city. Daryl, what is this? And then you see Homeland Security. Daryl, you got to help me with this. What did you get from this article?
No, you're completely on point, Santita. I worked Capitol Hill for a long time with a member of Congress, and the underground tunnels. I got confused, and it took me months to really, be able to navigate all the ways around from the Longworth House office building to the Capitol over to the Senate side. All of that can be done underground, but you've got to really know the layout on how to do it. So, for this organization, for these people, for these right-wing folks that came in and took over the Capitol, there had to be a lot of information shared for how you go around, because the information isn't readily available to the public with regards to all the passages underneath. So, there are all these indicators that there was certainly some type of cooperation from law enforcement with regards to this. Cooperation for people that were familiar with all the undergrounding and all the workings and surroundings of those pathways. So, but from this article, what we begin to learn and what I begin to really see is the level of involvement that law enforcement, probably in different parts of the country. We know clearly in Florida, because we have a whole video of it now. So we know clearly in Florida and Flagler County that we have sheriffs that were preparing people, encouraging people. In fact, they sent 3 busloads down there or up there to the Capitol with the intent and purpose of causing problems and causing harm, and certainly being armed and in a very offensive measure, talking about come back with a win. These are elected people as well that were out of Flagler County, encouraging folks to go up there and cause this mayhem, to take over and cause the harm that was going on and intended to go on at the Capitol. So the question is, how many more were there? Because this is just the tip of the iceberg. So we know there were a whole bunch more that were going on across the country that came to D.C. We also know that the Secret Service and many of the other agencies, were aware of the threat of what was about to happen and what was out there. But because, and this is my reading of it, that because you had so many members of the Secret Service and many members of law enforcement that were actually helping or standing back, knowing what was about to happen, that was the reason that there were not sufficient police that were involved. The Capitol Police could not get involved. The Metropolitan Police Department couldn't get involved because it was on, the Capitol land, and so they had their own policing entity. And then you had, at the top of that food chain, the president who had the ability to call in the National Guard. You had Maryland, my state, our governor waiting, saying, "We're here. Just give us the word. We can't go unless you give us the word."
At the bridge. Because I think for those people who've not been to Washington, they need to understand that Washington literally is a district in between Maryland and Virginia. That's why we call it the DMV, because you drive 5 minutes in DC and you are in Maryland. You drive 5 more minutes in the opposite direction, you are in Virginia. Literally the White House and Capitol Hill is kind of like in between. They're a bridge away from Virginia and Maryland. That's it, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. In fact, what is D.C., the way that it came about was that Virginia gave up some land, Maryland gave up some land, and created the District of Columbia. Virginia subsequently took their land back, and so the land that's there was originally Maryland land, so it's directly connected, to all of this. And you're absolutely correct. Within a stone's throw, you can be in Maryland, D.C., or the state of Virginia. It's all right there, connected. So when we talk about those policing entities that are on the border, they're literally right there. All they needed was the phone call to go in, and within 10 minutes, they certainly would have been at the Capitol there to provide assistance. But that phone call never came. Came very, very late with regards to helping the officers that were there. And so, again, we're drilling down to find out how deep this involvement goes between the law enforcement, the Secret Service, and these rioters that came in. Because many of the rioters we know were law enforcement. They were part of the Oath Keepers. They were part of the 3%ers. They were part of the Proud Boys. All of that we know exists there. And many of those folks that are Oath Keepers and 3%ers, those white superiority, whatever they want to call themselves, groups, we know that a lot of them come out of law enforcement, that law enforcement are members of them. And so, it's when we start peeling back that onion and seeing what's actually in there that we get a greater appreciation of what was happening on January 6th and ask the question, why wasn't there proper preparation taken with the knowledge, all the internal stuff that the Secret Service had prior to January the 6th, knowing that violence was the intention of the people that were coming to the Capitol, but they didn't do anything. They sat on the information. You can rest assured, Santita, that if they had information that Black Lives Matter and all these other groups were coming to the Capitol, and they captured information saying that they're going to be armed, we're going to take some people. This is, let's win this thing. Let's take back our country and all this other stuff. They would have been all over it, all over it.
As well they should.
As well they should. Absolutely.
It's a threat to the Capitol, but that's where, to me, a lot of the real questions, they've not been asked. And I think that we need to ask them. And that's why, we give this information to you so that you can think about it, everybody. There is no more secure place in the United States than Washington, D.C. and Capitol Hill and the White House. It just doesn't get any better than that. You're not going to get close to the president. You're not. You're not going to get close to Nancy Pelosi. She is, when you get to the Capitol, and if you approach her office, you are very clear that this person is in direct succession to the presidency, Daryl. Because number one, her office is about as big as the president's. and she has a whole security team, and she needs it. She needs it. That having been said, you're not going to get all of these people who are going to my way of thinking, who are going to really just violate the basic security of Capitol Hill. And they knew the Hill, unless they know it, unless they've been taught it. There's just a lot that's not being asked and a lot that's not being said here. What's your takeaway? What should be the takeaway? Because everyone is focusing on President Trump. Okay. And I think that, this focus on this personality called President Trump, I have to be honest with you. I have a problem with it, because I'm like, okay, one day he will fade away. But what will not fade away are the principles that have him, that have people lifting him up. And in principle, the security apparatus of Capitol Hill allowed that place to be broken into, allowed that riot. Something happened that day, and it wasn't just a coup led by Trump. Sleep inside Daryl Jones, to me.
You're right on it. This is not something that former President Trump created. This is something that former President Trump tapped into. It was already in existence. It was there. That he just became the conduit for it to be able to, and the exciter, I guess, or if you want to call it that, and able to get these individuals to the Capitol armed and to have the law enforcement not prepared to be able to handle what was coming. Now, he was that conduit. That's what he was. He didn't create this. So, one of the big takeaways I have from this is, obviously we're focusing on the former President Trump issue, but we've got to focus more on the law enforcement involvement issue on side of this, because that goes deep, that goes heavy. And every jurisdiction that is involved in this, we need to know who is involved with this. Where was your law enforcement? Were your law enforcement officers involved with this? We're finding law enforcement officers from all over the country that were involved. The question then becomes, when they go back to their jurisdictions, how are they being treated? Many are not being charged. How are they being treated? This is part of what we've got to dig into, because it's that mindset that we've got to know that we're dealing with and what we're dealing with. And to me, that's one of the takeaways that I have from this. We now know in Flagler County what was going on. The question is, how does Flagler County now deal with that? What other jurisdictions were in a similar situation to Flagler County, and how is it being handled? Because those of us that are in society that are being approached by law enforcement and all the issues that law enforcement currently have, I think we have a right to know who our tax dollars are going to, and what are the beliefs that they're holding in that regard. I absolutely do believe that, Santita.
And I think that we know, and and I think that we the people cannot be afraid to ask, and we the people cannot be so caught up in everything else that we're doing that we really ignore these questions. You can't. That's why this whole focus on this misdirection, if you will, to me, toward former President Trump, it is just that. Because if you focus on a personality, you never focus on the principle and the system that the principles represent. And looking at him, look, you had Bernie, you had Hillary, you had President Trump, you had then citizen Trump. Okay, Hillary got most of the women, a lot of the progressives, and Bernie Sanders absolutely got the progressives, Daryl Jones. And who was left? The low-hanging fruit. Roger Stone said on a CNN interview before they shut him down, which I always felt that was awful, because I love the fact that he was just talking. He said, "Look, I told Mr. Trump when he was considering running, you're going to sweep that. You can wipe the tables. You can completely break the two-party system, which has been in trouble, quite frankly, Daryl, for some time." He said because President Trump was going to run on Ross Perot's ticket in 2000. I mean, because his politics are really, they're not doctrinaire, right wing, left wing. He is a transactional businessman. That is what he does, everybody. Really, really. And he just talks cash trash to the people who he's trying to relate to, the low-hanging fruit, if you will. So who was left after the progressives and the women were gone and most of the liberals? You had disaffected white people, and that's where he went. And Roger Stone said that was the mistake that he made. Roger Stone said that. He said because he could have recreated, and he had an opportunity. He just didn't take it. And there was an opportunity not to let January 6th happen. But you know what? We already had a January 6th, and it happened in 2001, Daryl. It happened in Florida. It's just that these people were wearing Brooks Brothers suits and Talbot's outfits and Lilly Pulitzer outfits. I don't know why we don't want to deal with the fact that we had a coup in 2000. Daryl?
Yeah, no, we absolutely did. And, one of the interesting parts of the coup of 2000, beyond, the folks going down to Florida, beyond, the ballots and the hanging chads and the missing ballots out of the black and brown communities, you then had it all, sort of okay, the stamp of approval put on it by the Supreme Court, saying, we're going to end this madness of this election. So, it really, was an incredible coup that went on. And, Santita, the impact of that coup in Florida in 2000, as well as what all has happened here, has impacted that Supreme Court. And as you know, and we've often said, we now have a minority ruling Supreme Court because of the 9 justices, the majority of them were not appointed by presidents that won the popular vote, and so it becomes a minority rule Supreme Court, and that's how we end up in the position that we're in now with regards to the difficulty in keeping abortion safe and legal. Is that minority rule concept that has come about? But all of it again, talks about the importance of our protecting our democracy, the importance of us being able to go through and be certain that those that we have elected are putting in place policies of having folks that protect us, and that includes the chief of police and the commissioners and police departments that are appointed by elected people. So that's part of the accountability that we talk about.
And deal with the fact that America was always supposed to be, at least according to the founding fathers, a minority rule country. It's just that as we've evolved, we've said no. Okay, when only propertied white men can vote, that's minority rule. So we've had to move away from that. Think about that, everybody. Let's talk about Stacey Abrams and what's happening in the wild old state of Georgia. Stay right there. Attorney Jones got a tremendous panel who are going to help us to deal with this. Why is she under indexing with the black vote? Black people going to the Republican Party. That's what's happening. A lot of stuff is going on. Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show and the Chula Vista giveaway in just a minute. Did I send you this story about Stacey Abrams underperforming with black voters?
No, I've not seen that.
Let me send that to you. Oh, yeah. Yep. She's underperforming with black voters. Let me send that to you. I'm going to text it to you right now. I keep on looking, Daryl. I have to keep on looking, honey bun. I have to keep on looking. Well, because you can get caught in the news cycle and you're just looking at the same story and it's like, no. And I've heard from too many black men in Georgia of their disaffection with her campaign, with how it's being run. And then I also paid attention to the fact that she didn't get about 12% of the black vote.
Attorney Hoffler's on the line.
Okay, thank you. When she ran in 2018. So I saw that then. Excuse me. CK, how you doing, hon? I know I'm calling you crazy. I know you think I'm nuts.
No, that's okay. I went to bed early last night. I was exhausted, so I missed your text.
Girl, look, I fell asleep. And then I was so disoriented. I'm on all of these new meds to help me get my blood work right. And yes, I'll say that to everybody here. Who do I have here?
Hoffler, McKee, and Jones.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Hey, Dwight. And so hey, thank you, sweetie. So I have to take these medicines at hard times. I can't take this within an hour of having had this, that, and the other. And it's like, oh my gosh. But Daryl, I just texted these to you. But these are these headlines. CK, if black men vote for me, I'll win Georgia. And I've just been hearing from different black men, about their disaffection and disaffectedness with her campaign. And so I just
which is unfortunate.
It's unfortunate, but she didn't. 12% of the black male vote didn't go for her in 2018, and
right, which was unfortunate because she would have won at 5%. She would have won if there hadn't been voter fraud, but she would have won decisively with the voter fraud if 5% of the black men had voted for her.
Oh yeah, no, I got you. So I thought I'd bring it up, but you've also got these other crazy races. Excuse me, Paul.
Yes.
We're going to have. I have a contest. I have that contest coming up too.
Okay.
So So please, I'm going to do that at the top, right after I do the live read.
Okay.
And so, of course, ask them to, because I want to, of course, speak to the winner and all of that. And you have to get that information to Melissa.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. All right. Okay. All right, everybody. Got to pay the bills and take care of all of our business. Okay. Okay. Here we go.
Cynthia, I got to peel off at 8:55.
No worries. No worries. But let me know so I can get just, if things are running long.
Okay.
Because I want to give you a chance to give a closing thought. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Daryl, you got those stories? Okay. Assuming so.
Yes, I'm reading them now.
Okay, no worries. Then what I'm going to do is give you some time so you can read them. So I won't pivot to you until about 15 after the hour.
Okay, perfect.
I just think good morning to Dwight and Daryl.
Morning. How you all doing?
Good. We're in Georgia. Craziness every day.
I love it.
Did you see the case in Oklahoma where the woman was in the car? She was arrested, and police officers rifled and started open fire.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I saw that.
Was she a black woman?
Yeah. No, she was a white woman.
I was just joking, really.
And I know. And they mentioned she was under the influence of drugs or something.
And she's still alive, right?
She's still alive.
Oh,
she's still alive. She's good.
I'm
She's
surprised.
good. She's still alive, walking, talking, moving, grooving.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I just thought that was an interesting commentary.
As well, she ought to be.
Right.
And as well, Brianna.
Everybody ought to be.
Brianna should be alive. Ahmad should be alive. Jalen Walker should be alive. Just bringing that up.
Let me tell you the difference.
Woo!
She opened fired in a police car with a police weapon. I just want to point out that aggravating difference. Open fired on an innocent person, got shot in the chest. And she's living to talk about it.
Back in 1 minute.
Yes.
Did you see the man in Las Vegas who rammed the police car at 70 miles an hour, who had a shootout with the police?
Yeah.
And he lived to tell about it, a white man.
Yeah. And what is y'all's problem? I mean, what your point is what?
My point is the same point that I make every day about the unfair, uneven application of the law. But it's nobody should, just as they were treated, that's how everybody should be treated.
Mm-hmm.
So crime, I'm not condoning crime. Crime is bad. I'm not condoning crime. It's bad. Nobody wants to be a victim of crime.
15 seconds.
People don't need to die when they are, and you see examples of how police don't kill people. No shooting 60 times, 45 times, 30 times, 90 times, 15 times, 70 times. There was none of that.
We can change
Stand by.
Change the world, change the world. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show. Let's talk about what's happening down in Georgia. All eyes will be on Georgia this year. What will happen with Stacey Abrams as she faces off against Brian Kemp, Governor Brian Kemp again, the man who was as Secretary of State, purged so many of the hundreds of thousands, if not more than 1 million voters that she registered. And then he became the governor. She never conceded that race, and she never should have. Thank you very much. And then you've got Raphael Warnock facing off against football great Herschel Walker. Herschel Walker has been not the strongest candidate, to put it charitably, and yet they are in a tightly contested race. Senator Warnock has edged out ahead of him, but one never knows. What is going to happen in Georgia? Everybody wants to know. We're going to be talking about that with Attorney C.K. Hoffler, who is down in Atlanta. Dwight McKee, Attorney Darrell Jones of the Transformative Justice Coalition. Indeed, he is the chair. But I want to hear from you at 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278. And guess what? Get your phones at the ready, because I have a Chula Vista giveaway, everybody. That's right. It's worth about $1,000. You have a one-night stay any night between Monday through Thursday, 4 water park passes in a villa studio, a $25 dinner voucher, 4 Canyon Pass zip line passes for 2 adults, 2 children, 2 18 holes of golf, 2 rounds of golf, complete rounds of golf, everybody. The value of the package is $980. It could be yours if you call me. Caller number 3 at 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278. Call me now, and I want to know if you're going to be on that zip line. I know I keep asking you all, but this is a whole lot for me to think about being on that zip line. But call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278, and hang on there for a hot second so that we can congratulate you on the air, everybody. All right, Santita Jackson, let me get to some of these headlines on Friday, August 19th, 2022. Of course, this is WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. In Chicago, it's a beautiful day right now, but it's supposed to get cloudier later. Partly cloudy, 85 degrees. Minneapolis, St. Paul, 73 degrees. Thunderstorms. Major League Baseball. Oh, check out this score. The Astros 21, the White Sox 5. White Sox, you got to come back from that. Oh, wow. That's a lot. Rangers will be facing off against the Twins today, and the Cubs will be facing off against Milwaukee Brewers, everybody. In the NFL preseason, Chicago had a pretty good game last night, 27-17 over the Seattle Seahawks. Yay. And of course, you've got the WNBA playoffs. Support these ladies. They are playing some great basketball, everybody. Several parts of the southwestern United States, the desert, where they generally don't have a lot of water, well, they are in for potentially damaging flash floods today. Nearly 10 million people are under flood watches as excessive rainfall is expected to dump 2 to 4 inches across Arizona, New Mexico, and southern Utah. The desert, everybody. Think about that. Level 3 out of 4 for today in preparation for the surge of rain expected this weekend. It's a drought-plagued region, but they're not ready for this, everybody. They're not ready for this. A judge has set in motion the possible public release of a heavily redacted version of the affidavit that permitted FBI agents to search former President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence. A document unsealed on Thursday offers specifics about the crimes the Justice Department is investigating, including, quote, willful retention of national defense information. And this sharpens the focus on former President Trump as a possible subject of the criminal probe. We will see how all of this goes. In the meantime, we're trying to figure out why it is that President Biden's numbers will not move. 57% of Americans, according to this Reuters poll, this Reuters Ipsos poll, disapprove of him. Only 38% of Americans approve of his presidency. What is the deal, everybody? Can you tell me? Call me at 773-763-9278. I want to know what your ideas are. Give me some thoughts. 773-763-9278, because over the past couple of weeks, he's had quite a heck of a run, but his numbers will not move. You tell me what you think the deal is. 773-763-9278. And part of the problem is, groceries and gas and this money, everybody. If you are having some financial challenges, I want you to reach out to Team Hochberg. If you have broken credit, if you've been bankrupt, if you have high credit card debt, if you are using that debit card when you know you need to get you a credit card, but your credit score will not allow you to get a credit card, call Team Hochberg. They can put things together for you so that you can get a credit card, so that you can fix your credit so that you can build your credit. If you want to purchase a home, if you need to come up with a plan to come up with a down payment and get your credit score together so you can get a home, they're the people who can help you. If you want to refinance your existing home, if you want to find out about reverse mortgages, if you need to find out about these financial products, call Team Hochberg. They are your trusted local lender. David posted a 5-star Google review after working with them. He said, "My wife and I make good money. We had no way to pay off our credit card debt, so we called Team Hochberg and they signed up for this free consultation." Everybody, tell them everything. They're going to find out everything when they run the credit check anyway. So just tell them so that they can help you, everybody. The more you tell them, the better able they will be to help you. And guess what? They were able to pay off $45,000 in credit card debt. $45,000. They eliminated that stress, brought some harmony back into that marriage, home, and saved over $1,000 a month in credit card payments. That could be you. Call them at 855-56-DAVID or 855-56-DAVID or visit them at 56david.com. 56. I want to hear who the Chula Vista winner is going to be. I cannot wait to find out who that is. In the meantime, we've got attorney C.K. Hoffler, former president of the National Bar Association, the largest and oldest Black bar association in the world. She's also the chair of Rainbow Push. And we have got attorney Darrell Jones, the chairman of the Transformative Justice Coalition, both of them brilliant lawyers, and of course, brilliant social scientist Dwight McKee. We're talking about Georgia. Georgia. Oh, Georgia. The whole day through, Georgia's on our minds. We have got historic Georgia. This is a Georgia that Dr. King foresaw, that Reverend Jesse Jackson foresaw. I mean, you can't, only God could come up with this. Herschel Walker against Raphael Warnock. Those are the choices that are before Georgians today. And when you've got a very strong candidate, in Reverend Dr. Raphael Warnock, you have a candidate who is much admired for his prowess on the athletic field in Herschel Walker, someone who has stumbled a lot as a candidate himself. And yet they're almost neck and neck. Of course, Raphael Warnock is moving ahead of him, but it's no of course. We don't know what's going to happen in November. We really don't. And what about Stacey Abrams? One would think that she's struggling, not struggling, but she is about 80% of the Black vote supports her, not 90%, which is what she really needs. And she even said, if Black men would vote for me, if they would vote for me, I can win. She said this in a podcast, TK. She said, Black men have remarkable power. They, quote, have a capacity that sometimes it's not met by their turnout, which is legitimate and honest. And I don't disparage those who make the decision not to vote, because often the leadership that gets elected is not reflective of their needs. That said, I know that if we have the kind of turnout possible among Black men and they vote for me, I will win the election. That is why my campaign has been so focused on making sure we're addressing these challenges. And I've talked to a few Black men in Georgia, and they're a little lukewarm on her. They're like, no, she doesn't. There's something about her. We're not connecting with her. Indeed, in 2018, when she first ran for governor, attorney C.K. Hoffler, and of course, I'm going to give this question to the whole panel. 12% of Black men did not vote for her. I mean, what is it? Is it sexism? Is it something more? What's going on?
Good morning, Santita, and good morning to our wonderful panel and to the audience. Well, I think in the case of Stacey Abrams, it's a combination of factors. She's probably going to, again, get between 95 and 99% of the Black woman vote. I just say not 100% because nothing is 100%, but she's going to overwhelmingly get the support of Black women, without a question, hands down. She's a phenomenal candidate. She has immaculate qualifications. She has crossover appeal. She's very appealing to Black women. She's quite appealing to white women as well in the state of Georgia. So she's going to get the vote solid to count on of Black women and a good number of white women. When it comes to men, I believe that you do see some sexism. I say that most respectfully. When it comes to Black men, which is a question at issue, yes. because I have spoken to a lot of Black men. And I've had some of the comments I dare not repeat because they reflect a level of complete and utter it's incredulity, some of the comments, that I hear about her attire, about her look, about her physicality.
The fact that she doesn't look like, no, I'm going to bring it right here, okay, because I can and I am. She doesn't look like Kamala Harris. I mean, that's real. Colorism is real. The fact that she does not look like, she's a beautiful woman. I mean, she just is, but she's not slender. She's got a gap in her teeth. She's got natural hair. Let's just keep it 100. Let's do that. Because I have heard people who said that. There's some men. Look, I was incredulous when I heard some of the comments. I'm like, are you serious right now? Have you heard this woman?
Well, I've had some. The reason why I say it's not to be believed, I've had some knockdown, drag out discussions with very close friends, Black male friends, about this very issue. Much to my dismay.
She's someone they would not date. I'm serious.
She's someone that they would not date. They just don't. She doesn't resonate. Her physicality doesn't resonate with them. Well, does the physicality of Donald Trump resonate with them? So my point is that is sexism at its highest, and that accounts for a part of the lack of, the failure to embrace Stacey. But 12% of them didn't vote for her, but 88% of them did. Mm-hmm. She needs to hold on to that 88% and get 5% more, in my very unscientific speculation. Because had 5% of Black men voted for her, 5% more, she would have, and there was a lot of voter fraud in the last gubernatorial elections in Georgia. Voter fraud, not voter suppression, voter fraud. But had 5% more Black men voted for her, she would have taken it, even with the voter fraud. So what we have to put in context is, yes, it's unfortunate. And a lot of people are critical. There's some people who were critical here in Georgia, African-American men, a few of them articulated, and I had this on my show, where a couple of callers called in and said, why is Stacey all so, bent on this crossover appeal and appealing? She just needs to appeal to the Black community, to which I responded, because Georgia is not the Black community. Georgia is not a predominantly Black state. She's running for to be governor, and she's got to appeal. She can't carry it just with the Black vote. If she could carry it with the Black vote, then she'd be okay. She can't carry it with Black men voting just solely. She needs Black women. Black women will carry the day for her without a question, but she also needs Black men at a minimum. And then all of the crossover appeal, because she's in it to win it. And her record in terms of voting and the things that she stands for, very, very clear. And she stands for issues that Black men should embrace, Black people should embrace, white people should embrace. In the state of Georgia, she's very progressive on many fronts, and she's not as progressive on other fronts. So she, as I said, she's got a lot of crossover appeal. I think it's the physicality, the way that she looks, but also Stacey Abrams is tough. Mm-hmm. She's tough. She's not. If you look at what she has done for, by the way, the Democratic Party, not just in Georgia, but in this country, but particularly in Georgia, she has turned this state around. She is a force to be reckoned with. She is someone who is, and I'm not saying this because I'm a Stacey Abrams supporter. I'm just saying it how I see it living here in Georgia. So whenever you have a woman who has accomplished that, a lot of men, I'm just going to put it out there because it's sexism, feel some kind of way, feel uneasy, feel that she's too dominant, feel that she's too something. That's the sexism. And in this instance, sexism trumps racism. Sexism trumps racism in the case of Stacey Abrams. Make no mistake about it. That's my perception.
Mm-hmm. So what say you, Dwight McKee?
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
I agree with a lot of what you all have said. I think it's, I'd add another dimension to it. And that is that the dilemma of running for governor in a state like Georgia is you need crossover support. And you have to set your campaign around appealing to a certain segment of the white population. The trick is to do that and not let the Black population feel excommunicated or dismissed. What you're seeing, I think, in Georgia and in some other states is that with black women running, is that black men feel themselves to be the first sacrifice and the ones taken for granted. And so there is no direct appeal. Some is, sexism, but some is self-interest. Is that those issues that are very important to black men, prison reform, employment, health care, education. There's some issues that are particularly important to black men that are kind of put on the back burner in order to appeal to your black woman base and try to get some crossover appeal, both of which you need to win. But you have to do it in such a way that black men don't feel abandoned or taken for granted or dismissed. But you also have to put in that Trump has a certain appeal to black men, as does Herschel Walker, and some of the other candidates that are in that race. Is that to a lot of black men, Herschel Walker is a very successful black athletic hero who they look up to. Donald Trump is a very successful white businessman who they look up to. I was saying to you the other day that in many ways that a lot of black men, they love Dr. King, but they want to be Donald Trump.
Absolutely.
They want the airplane.
But see, this
they
is
want
what
the white women.
Stacey Abrams has had relatives who have been broke, who've been in prison, and she has championed all of that. And so has Lori Lightfoot. But somehow or another, sexism is very, very, very real. I mean, I used to have this discussion with my father, Dwight, Daryl, and CK when I was a little girl. Because my first term paper when I was 9 was on women's suffrage. I mean, I was all over that because I could see sexism. And it bothered me. I said, now sexism is as offensive to me as racism is. And somehow or another, and that can become a bit of an issue with black men and black women because there is no time in which black women are not standing up for black men. That is all we do. We do that first. At peril to ourselves. Or should I say we sacrifice ourselves because, we love our daughters, we love our sons, and we raise our daughters. That's real in our community. Because we're trying to keep the police from shooting you, et cetera, and just folks from eliminating our black men. So I don't know what else she can do. I really, really don't know what else she can do because and so many black men I've talked to down in Georgia, they're like, no, she has been putting us on the black burner. I'm like, what do you want her to do? Marry one of you? I mean, what?
Why not?
Why should she? Raphael Warnock's not married right now.
Governor Wilder wasn't married, by the way. Doug Wilder. FYI. I'm sorry, I'm from Virginia too, so I had to throw that in.
Well, okay. I mean, what does that mean? Daryl, Daryl, when we come back on the other side, but Dwight, I'm gonna give you this final minute before we go to break. Oh no, wait a minute, hold on, wait a minute. I got Monique. Monique has won. Hold on, come on, Dwight. Monique, congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Are you going to get on the zip line, Monique? Are you going to put on that helmet?
Well, Santita, I just came from Levity, Haiti last week, and I was on a zip line in Haiti. So yes, I am.
What? Girl, look, you know what? When you come back from this trip, would you call in and just tell us about it? I don't know why it is. I see the zip line and I'm like, are y'all for real? What? Oh, wow.
I will.
Okay. So, but you can play golf
excited.
Oh, Lord. Mercy. Help her.
I'm better at watching paint dry than golfing, but I'll try it. I'm all for it.
You know what, girl, go on out there and have some fun. Why not? Huh?
I will. I'm on a self-care journey, so this is adding to my journey. I'm so excited. I never won anything, so I'm so excited.
Well, you won today. I'm so excited for you. But you know what? Go out there, have some fun. Be on this self-care journey. You know, I mean, be on it because you know what? You're the only self you've got. Take care of yourself. And you know what? Have some fun, Monique. In all seriousness, get out there and have some fun. You deserve that.
Thank you, Santita. I appreciate it so much.
You are what? But now, all I'm going to ask of you is that when you finish doing the zip line and all the other stuff that you're going to do after you watch the paint dry on the golf course, would you call in so that you can? In a humid room, I'm with you.
I will.
Oh my gosh. I'm trying to get over you in the zip line, but you're going to do that. So I'm not mad at you. I am not mad at a sister who's going to get out there and just whir through there. I know Paula, my sister Paula. Paula, would you do it? Paula Garcini, Zipser. And yes, Paula, I did know all of the preppy designers because when I was in college, my nickname was Buffy because I was a preppy. Yes, I was. I'm 180 degrees from that today, but there we go. Monique, have some fun. I hope you now stay right there because I want to make sure that you gave Paul all your information so we can get it over to Melissa because we want you to get your package and get on to the Chula Vista Resort. Girl, have some fun and call me back and let me know how it was.
I will. Thank you. Happy Friday, everyone.
Love you, girl. God bless you. Stay right here. More of the Santita Jackson Show in just a few minutes. Oh my goodness. Monique said she is Team Stacy. I am too. Yes, Paula. And I sure did. Do you remember Shoulder to Shoulder that was on PBS? That was like my favorite show. Okay. When they were talking about women and women's suffrage. I love that. One of the highlights of my young life was my mother took me to Shirley Chisholm's presidential rally, and she explained to me the importance of this black woman running. When I met Fannie Lou Hamer and all of these people, and C. Dolores Tucker. Oh my goodness. I've just seen so many wonderfully strong black women, and they are always standing up for black men, always white. Always.
But let me tell you what the difference is.
Oh, please help me.
Let me, if I can say it. But you all don't kill the messenger. I'm just telling you what's happening. What I do. Well, but I guess the difference is in a patriotic society, then you're gonna get a patriotic backlash.
Well, no, and I think that's kind of what we're dealing with. But I mean, but there are some things now. I know, with the colored girls, as you well know, with all of that, that can be a bit of an issue. Um, and yep,
Back
I'm
in
back
30.
up. And there are some Black women who are guilty of that. There's no question about it. But there are Black men who are guilty of, and you see it all in our churches. Black women can go to the finest seminaries in the world and they cannot get a pulpit. But sometimes that's also the women who won't give them the pulpit either. There's a lot going on with misogyny and sexism and racism. It's a lot. But, Daryl is being curiously quiet, but we're going to hear from him in a hot second.
We can change the world, change the world, change the world. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world.
Wow, talk about the buzzsaw. We're not going to shoot the messenger, Dwight McKee, brilliant social scientist. CK and I are not going to shoot you, attorney CK Hoffler, host of our own show on WAOK every Tuesday at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Of course, she is also the chair of Rainbow Push and the chairman of the Transformative Justice Coalition, who, along with Barbara Arnwine, co-hosts their radio show on WOL at 12 noon every Tuesday. They're on right behind CK. Okay, you know what? We have not heard from you, Daryl. Attorney Daryl Jones, curiously quiet Jones. Hello.
Santita, I sit and I'm listening to my brother Dwight McKee lay it out, and I'm listening to you and CK, and I'm trying to figure out exactly where I fall.
The safe space.
I think that. And I think a large part of it that for Black men, all right, we don't have a problem supporting Black women in elected positions. We've done it. The example obviously being the Vice President Kamala Harris that's there now. In the Washington D.C. area, we have Muriel Bowser. We overwhelmingly support her. So I don't think that is a problem of Black men supporting Black women in their run for office. What I don't know, and where I start getting a little more cautious, is the relationship that Stacey Abrams has with the Black men in Georgia, and that's the part I don't know. I suspect that it's got to be much stronger than the relationship that Black men would have with Brian Kemp. But the question then becomes that exciting the base, the exciting the Black men to get out there and to vote. And I'm just trying to finger what it could be, identify what it is that could be the explaining mechanism as to why that is not happening.
Can I give you this? Let me give you something
Sure.
to chew on. This is something that I read in the Jolt, which is from the AJC, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. They said that Stacey Abrams might still be best known nationally as a voting rights advocate who fought to expand access to the ballot. Okay. In her rematch, she's devoted more attention to economic issues and her opposition to GOP-backed abortion limits and gun policies and on voting rights measures. One of the things, before I signed my contract with Fox, my father said to me, remember where you live, baby. Remember where you live. And I said, okay. And that was, my father says, he doesn't have to say a whole lot, as all of you know him. He says a lot of things that are very, very profound, and he says them very succinctly. He's the master of that. And Tip O'Neill told us that all politics, and if you don't resonate with your people first, Daryl, you got to know voting rights, police reform. That's something that is like uppermost in Black folks' minds. So you gotta tailor a campaign that hits it hard, because you got to hit your base hard. Otherwise, they look at you, and say, okay, you've got a lot of out-of-state support, and what does that mean to me? Just Daryl.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right that in terms of hitting the issues that resonate with your base, and you always stay with your base. I think the old statement is, you dance with the one that brought you, and to the degree that Stacey Abrams has done that, that seems overwhelming. That she's clearly in the voting rights race. She's clearly in the space of defending Black men. From what I can tell, she's in the space on the issues with regards to defending the African American community and their access and how they're being treated by law enforcement. She seems to be, certainly an out front voice on those issues. But the piece that I guess that I'm missing is if there is a disconnect, and I don't know that there is a disconnect with her and Black men. I don't know if it's just that they're not voting or what's happening in Georgia that she's not received with the same degree of favorability as Black women are that are voting in the state of Georgia. It's very clear that the Black women over the last at least 5 years, if not longer, have been a dominant force politically and have found their voice and have learned to really utilize the strength of that voice. Black women are the reason that we have President Biden in office today. Let's be clear on that. But I don't know that Black men resent the fact that Black women have found that voice. And so, I don't follow and don't necessarily agree on that argument that because Black women now have a light that's shown on that's being shined on them and they're doing so well that Black men are resentful of it. I that's not what I feel, and I'm sure that's not what Brother McKee feels. And I just don't know that explains what's happening in Georgia. I think there may be something else that's going on there that I just don't know. But I don't believe that it's a resentment. I don't believe that it's anything along those lines. I really don't.
Well, but what if it is? I mean, Dwight, what could she do to turn this ship around?
So I say she needs to appeal to the interests of Black men. Mm-hmm. The resentment is not Black women are doing well. The resentment is that some Black women feel like they're doing well by their own virtue and by their own activity, and that that they have been doing well because they've come out the head of the noose doing well, and they've not had the corporate benefits of what Black men have sacrificed, and so white men have played them against Black men in some ways.
But let me ask you this. Do you think that Black men have also been played against Black women? Because Black women have sacrificed. That's just what we do, right? All the time.
Oh, yeah. No, I think both are probably correct. I just think that's why I said, but also the patriotic nature of men, the chauvinistic nature of men, would make them more resentful of that. Because in a society where women have been set up as a matriarchal society anyway, Black men have worked double time trying to project their own manhood and define their own manhood, and have paid the biggest price for the expression of their manhood. I mean, there's more Black men have gotten hung than any other class of people in the history of this country. And when somebody swings from a tree, it's generally a Black man. And so there is, kind of an inherent mindset that comes with Black men who has a harder time both proving their humanity, defending their humanity, and being punished for the expression of their humanity.
And the other piece of that.
What she has to do.
Okay. I'm just saying the other piece of that is all of the compromises. I think that we're in this together because Black women have had to compromise our spirits and our bodies to keep you alive. Sometimes we had to be with that slave master just to keep you alive. And there has almost been no recognition of the things that Black women have had to do to save our Black men. building these churches. These churches exist because of Black women. And we lift Black men up in our Black churches. Now there's some things that we're falling short on, because I think that Black women are doing too much disparaging of Black men. Oh, this absentee Black father, a lot of CK, a lot of that, we're doing that. And we need to stop that. Honey, let me just put it this way. If the man didn't choose you, you need to leave him alone. Don't choose the man. Let him choose you. The Bible says that. Stop it. And stop taking it out on your children. Stop it. Stop. Because, see, we're making our men more killable by making them look less responsible. Yeah. That's an awful thing.
Yeah, but the question is, Santita, why is Stacey Abrams so disconnected from a certain percentage of black men in Georgia? That's the question. And I'm suggesting to you that in that particular situation, there is the combination of Black men still taken for granted. There is no real direct appeal to Black men in the quest to have crossover appeal and not offend white people. She has not really addressed dramatically the needs of Black men. And thirdly, some of the candidates on the Republican side have appeal for whatever reason, whether financial, political, emotional. They have an appeal to Black men.
They do, but I guess, but the bar for Kamala was set so low. She was not just by virtue, and let's keep it 100. The more attractive, your physicality impact your mobility in this society. As my brother Jonathan said to me, he said, "Sweetie, get over it. It's a looks-driven society. Deal with that." And I mean, see,
Shirley Chisholm wasn't Lena Horne. So
and she caught hell from Black men. They would not support her.
And you think they didn't support her because of the looks?
No. I'm just saying it. I'm saying in today's world, I've heard Black men say CK's heard it. We're women. We've heard it. we've been hearing it. I'm not saying that this is all just about her look, but I don't hear and Stacey Abrams, when you just listen to her, she is just frighteningly brilliant. I mean, it's just stunning, this woman's mind. We don't hold Kamala to the same standard. And I think that some of that looks driven. And I know I'm copping to it. I went to school with Kamala Harris, the vice president. I like her and know her. But wow. But let me bring CK back into this. I know CK's going to have to leave shortly. No, I mean, I
think that's a legitimate point. Yeah. That's a legitimate point.
Thank you. CK?
Well, I'd say, first of all, we don't shoot the messenger, Dwight McKee. We love the messenger, Dwight McKee, for speaking truth to power. So I just want to clarify that on the record. We don't shoot the messenger. We love the messenger. And we appreciate, Dwight, that you bring that perspective, because you're saying what people are afraid to say and afraid to hear. The truth of the matter is, Stacey is, in terms of issues, she has put forth a platform that is appealing to Black men. That's the thing that is a little disheartening. So here, just because I'm here in Atlanta, which is one of her strongholds, she is working that on the issues because her heart has always been there. Sometimes your heart is there, but if you don't articulate it, nobody knows that's where your heart is. Mm-hmm. She has had an effort to do that. And I think maybe one of the things she could do more of, there's so many Black men organizations here in Georgia. Mm-hmm. So many. Raphael Warnock, Senator Warnock, is going to have the benefit of the doubt on this because he's a man, because he went to Morehouse. Well, she went to Spelman. This is an unusually magnificent time in the history of Georgia from my standpoint. Mm-hmm. We have two candidates who are eminently qualified, top-notch leaders, brilliant, who went to HBCUs, phenomenally trained, top to bottom, unimpeachable credentials. You can't say about either one of them, well, but if there's this. Unimpeachable. Don't even have a debate with either one of them because you will lose 100 miles an hour going south because they are superbly prepared and brilliant. And they have that base here in Georgia. Just as Raphael and oh my goodness, the Morehouse base in Georgia.
Oh my gosh.
Strong, united, tenacious, well-financed, about business, getting it done, unbelievable and magnificent. And I would say the same for the Spelman base. Strong, brilliant, and financial and in complete support of Stacey Abrams. But neither one of those bases will carry, in the case of Morehouse, Raphael Warnock 100%, or in the case of Spelman, Stacey Abrams 100%. So they've got to branch out. Raphael doesn't have to appeal to the women vote because he's a minister. He has to work with it, just like every political person running for office, but he doesn't have to do the same type of appeal that Stacey Abrams has to do in cultivating a relationship, a stronger political relationship with black men to capture that extra 5 or 10% that will take the top and assure her victory. So and that sex is what it is. I mean, we don't need to get too high tech about it. We just work through it because that doesn't mean she can't win. She can still win with that, in my humble impression. But I think one of the ways is by really, really having her allies who are in those fraternities, in those fraternal orders, in those groups, in where a lot of things are discussed, a lot of decisions, who are being advocates for her, going deep down. We in the deep South, deep South, and having her allies going to those groups and say, look, however you want to express it, we need to support her. Look at what's at stake. And what's at stake is a whole lot because Georgia is leading in voter suppression, y'all. We want to be leading in everything bad. Stacey represents maybe leading, just as Senator Warnock does, in everything good. Nobody's perfect. And so I think that is one approach, going to those organizations, making that pitch, because let me tell you, she is so solid on so many fronts. To even galvanize the support to get to where she is, where she's running neck and neck in Georgia, I just have to tell you, sitting here with all of the adversity is including life or death adversity. That's what politics are here in Georgia for Stacey Abrams. So for those who feel that that's wrong, that she shouldn't have to confront that with the incredible qualifications that she has, and she's spot on the issues. Prison reform, policing reform, all those things that are not just concerned to black men, but are concerned to our community. Stacey is spot on. She's conservative, a little more conservative with some other issues. Interestingly enough, fiscal issues that would be of concern to black men, she's spot on with that too. Her message is not getting out, perhaps, through the voice of the right people. That's all, in my impression. And the way that you overcome sexism and racism is by getting it out. Because I can tell you, as a trial lawyer, sometimes when I walk into a courtroom, I can't tell if it's the sexism that I'm encountering or the racism. But I know it's not good. But I also know one thing. It's never going to stop me. But it's there every single step of the way and every breath I take. Just like for black men, when they walk into some place, everybody's holding their purse. So these are things that we live with, but that should not preclude a Stacey Abrams from getting ahead and winning. It really shouldn't.
Well,
I surely hope that it doesn't.
Well, CK, there's something out here, because I tell you what, I mean, the audience are like Dwight telling it like it is, because there is the feeling that black women are getting ahead. Some people have it at black men's expense. And mind you, white men will do that because they would rather deal with a black woman than a black man. Look, we're keeping it 100 here. That's what I do on the Santita Jackson Show. That's real. That having been said.
Well, Santita, and so what we need to do as black women, what we always do, we have to reinforce, double down with our efforts to neutralize that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm part of a whole bunch of black women organizations, Black Women Magic, Black Women Everything. When Dwight McKee was saying girl power, it's Black Women Magic. That's the term. That's the latest term, Black Women Magic. And there is some magic. That magic comes from having to fight tooth and nail every step of the way That's what it comes from. But it's not to the exclusion of anything. It's no different than Omega Psi Phi to the day I die. You know, if you're an Alpha, if you're a Kappa, all of the fraternal organizations that are for Black men, nothing wrong with it. I applaud it. I think it's magnificent. These Black women organizations are no different than that. What do they focus on? You elevate Black men, just like there are white organizations like that. I applaud, I embrace, I think it's magnificent. I'm raising, along with their dad and you know, my family village, 2 Black men. And all that Dwight McKee said resonates with me because every day they're under assault. When they come home, I have to, their dad has to, my parents have to, Reverend Jackson, Santita, Dwight, all of you all, our community has to tell them you are valued. You mean something. Don't let people pitch you against Black women, Black girls. I had that discussion with them in high school because that pitting issue happens in high school, in middle school. It starts early. So we have to neutralize it. We have to neutralize it.
Well, and acknowledge it. And acknowledge it.
And acknowledge it. You got to recognize it. So that's why I said we're not shooting the messenger. We're loving the messenger, Dwight McKee, and we're thanking the messenger, Dwight McKee, and Daryl Jones for saying it how you saying, you know, being 100, as Santita has said, and calling it like it is, because we can neutralize it. We can neutralize it and not let this opportunity pass. Because let me tell you, Georgia is a magnificent state, but it's a very difficult place to live right now, like many places. You walk in place, people are taking guns, and you can see them. And you can see them in plain sight every day, all over the place. And it makes you want to, and you don't know, anything could happen. You could bump into someone inadvertently and someone will shoot you. You know, operating and living and that kind of environment, it's not that I don't care about myself. I don't fear for myself because I feel that I have the tools and I'm equipped, but I do care and fear for my children. Mm-hmm. Care and fear for the children in this state. Black children, brown children, and by definition, white children, because they are going to, at some point, feel the wrath of what's happening. So Georgia and maybe other states are like this too. Stacey Abrams provides an opening of hope, a ray of hope, because she's paid the price, she's paid her dues, she's spot on the issues, she has widespread support, crossover support, and and the Black women, ain't going to be no low numbers. They're going to support her. We just need our Black men to step up and say and recognize the issues, get outside of ourselves like we do, like I do every day. A lot of things that I see I don't like. Sometimes I just say, let me get outside of myself. Let me count to 10 and let me do this and get this woman in power because she is best for our community, hands down. There's not going to be a contest there.
Absolutely.
I don't care if you're a conservative Black person or not. She is the best candidate for our community here in Georgia. And if you all don't believe, let Herschel Walker win and let Brian Kemp win. And let me tell you something, you're going to have Black flight in this state if the two of them prevail.
You know, you're right. You're right. I got a couple of minutes before we get off the air, but you know, we'll be here for about 5 more minutes just off the air. I mean, the fact is, I think, CK, you're making some brilliant points. I think Dwight has made some brilliant points. I think we've got to acknowledge Dwight's point and points, and we've got to acknowledge your point and points. And we cannot allow anyone to pit us against each other. That's a problem. That's a real problem. And we're going to have to do something about that, because you do see Black women being exalted, and you know, because white men, there is a real problem. We got some real problems with our politics, and Black men have always been subjugated, even as they've been put forward. It's very complex. But we've got to talk about this. Stay right here because I'm going to get some closing thoughts from you, Attorney Daryl Jones, Attorney Daryl Curiously Quiet Jones, because he said, I do not want to get in the middle of this today. I was going to talk about something else. And then Dwight McKee. I have to get out of here. But let me, everybody, meet me at the Who's That Lady conference with, hold on, what, Dwight, I got to get out. Hold on. It's my show. I got to get out. I want to see you all at the Who's That Lady conference, everybody, tomorrow morning. I'll be speaking at 10 o'clock. Central Standard Time for Pastor Tisha Dixon Williams. And of course, we have Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson at 7 a.m. on the iHeart Radio Network at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time on Sunday morning. And of course, join us at Rainbow Push. And then please, the back to school event, 9 to 4 tomorrow at 930 50th Street. It will be free health screenings, free school supplies. It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful event. I want you to be there. Push Excel, Rainbow Push, and Biggs Radio are going to be out in full force, and you need to be there too. Bring your children, and bring yourselves. It's going to be a great day from 9 to 4. I am Santita Jackson. Stay right here on the Santita Jackson and Friends page and on Facebook, and really more importantly, on the Santita Jackson Show channel. We're going to get some closing thoughts from Dwight McKee and Curiously Quiet Attorney Daryl Jones. I don't know if CK had to run real quick, but I love you all. Thank you, everybody. God bless you. You're going to get some closing thoughts right here. God bless you. Have a great weekend. Have a great Friday. All right. Daryl, Dwight, you all want to say anything before I'm going to have to shut it down and run downtown real quick?
Yeah. Daryl, you want to say something first?
Daryl, please.
Yeah, thanks, Dwight. I'm certainly, with the analysis that Dwight has provided, but, and part of the reason I was quiet is that I've just been turning it over in my mind, trying to figure this out, and so one of the things I've been able to come up with and thinking about it, I was like, well, I'm thinking Atlanta and not the state of Georgia. So when I started thinking a little more broadly and the experiences that I've had, particularly with Black men in Brunswick, right, I began to understand that it maybe isn't just a Black men thing, right, but rather what happens in the more rural sections of Georgia is that you run into that patriarchal thing. So it is a thing of Black men, much like white men and that are in Georgia in the South, that don't necessarily feel comfortable with a woman in that leadership position, and they want men that are there to lead them, and that's, I think, is probably what Stacey Abrams is writing. So I don't know if it's a resentment of Black women in progress as much as it is the bias that's put in for places like the state of Georgia, where the focus has been on that patriarchy all over, and I think that the Black men are part of that. And again, I always say outside this city of Atlanta, because I think the rest of Georgia is different than the city of Atlanta. But I think that's where it comes from. And clearly, there's always the belief, and I think pretty well proven fact that of appearance politics, right? That the better looking you are, the more accepting they are of your positives and your negatives. So that clearly is there. But I don't know that she's being rejected because of some policy issue or anything like that, as much as perhaps it is just that whole perception that in the South, that in those rural areas, that we don't want our women doing that. And it just flows not simply to Black men, but to all men that are in Georgia. That's sort of where I think I'm falling on this. And Dwight, certainly I yield to you.
Black men love the Serena, the Williams sisters. And one of the reasons is because they never allowed these white guys, and it was their ambition to dismiss or to neutralize the impact that their father had on their game.
Point well taken.
He had his own way, his own style. And so because he wasn't conventional, white people on the tennis circuit tried to have them separate themselves from him. And they said, no, say what you want to say. My daddy is the reason I'm successful. And so Black men felt a part of their achievement because they never let it operate as if it was a Black girl magic thing. We made it because we were just the best. And I'm saying that when you see situations, I think that this generation of Black women are dealing with or allow themselves to be, is when they go into that black woman magic gear, it comes across the black men as if they have made it by themselves, they're out here by themselves, and it's at the expense of any contribution a black man has made in their lives, whether movemental or personal. You know, they don't feel like their daddies, they don't see their daddies involved. They don't see their husbands involved.
Oh, people do that to me all the time. They will say that, you know, they say all the time, "Oh, your mother did such a great job." I'm like, honey, my parents did a great job. My mother was not alone. I have a mother and a father. They have been married 60 plus years. I got a daddy. And I remember when no, let me just share this with you, because I mean, I didn't understand my mother was helping me to understand the politics of it as a child. You know, I told you I was a Merit Scholar as a senior in high school. So, you know, Annapolis, West Point, these people would come to your house to make sure that you filled out to convince you to fill out the application that they had sent to you, because they had your name and they had all your information. And I remember when West Point came over, my father was not home that evening because he was on the road, as he was most of the time. But my father's presence, you could feel it in the house every day. Lights were on, gas, all that. But you just felt his presence every day. My mother made sure of that. And so did he, quite frankly. And they rang the door at 6 o'clock, which is when we had dinner. And I went to get the door. And my mother said, "Santita, who's at the door?" And I said, West Point, the gentleman from the West Point Academy. And my mother tore out of that dining room. She was furious. She said, "First of all, you don't ring my doorbell in the evening. You call me. I am married. I am Mrs. Jesse Jackson. I have a husband and my daughter has a father. First thing you should have done when you rang the doorbell, you should have asked for her daddy, because she's got one." And they looked, they were like, oh. You know, wait, no, my mother was dead on that. She did not play with that. She did not allow you to play with her. And that's one of the things that I've loved about those Williams sisters, because they were like, no. Because see, what their father did, by checking the people, they kept their father in place to protect them, because he would not let people hurt them. And they resented the fact that they had this big black man who was very strong in their lives. That's real. And they resent Richard Williams to this day. They do. So, you know, I hear you on that. I'm with you. Because I resent it when people tell me, "Oh, your mother, she did such a great job." I'm like, what are you talking about? No. No. My parents did this together. Nobody paid those tuitions but Reverend and Mrs. Jesse Jackson, period. Nobody bought those groceries but Reverend and Mrs. Jesse Jackson. Nobody took us to all these places but Reverend and Mrs. Jesse Jackson. So just stop it. Dwight?
And therefore, men have an affinity for you. And they feel like, "Oh, that's Reverend Jackson and Jesse's daughter." They have an affinity because they see themselves as part of your development, part of your growth, part of your success.
I mean, how can I forget Uncle Saint and Reverend Evans and Smitty and Mike Knighton and Double O and Fats and all these people who, I mean, and Don Harris, who wouldn't let me go to the movies by myself because they wanted to make sure that I was going to be safe. Are you kidding me? That's why when I see black men disparaged, it is offensive to me. Because I know for a fact Uncle Saint never had a blood child, but he's got a lot of children out here, and we love him. May he rest in heavenly peace. Because this was a man who fathered us, who loved us. And there's so many black men who do that. And I'm like, wait a minute. If you're not lifting that up, I got a problem with that. And I got a problem with you not doing that. Dwight.
And what I'm saying is that black women have to be conscious that in their success, that they make sure that the black men who have been involved in that feel a part of it and elevated by it. So it's a shared success. It does not become a unique success to their experience. It does not become a black woman magic. It becomes a black community magic.
You saw that with Aretha,
black
right?
men feel more a part of it.
You saw that with Aretha Franklin.
And her father.
Yeah.
And so there's an affinity that then black men have for you. She didn't become an enemy to black men or black women. Both of them, she became a shared experience for all of us. And so I'm just saying that black women have to be very conscious that they don't get separated and isolated from the black experience, because we've all done all of what we've done together. One of the great benefits that Obama had was Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody felt part of that shared experience. He could not have won without Michelle, but she would have been incomplete without him. It was that bond that made that work and became a role model for black people, because it could be a shared experience. And we all felt part of that success. And so that's my only point, is that I think that Stacey and them have to be very conscious of that.
I agree. And she needs to be talking to people who give her that message, who say to her, you know, this black girl magic, I got you, I love it, I think it's great, but ain't nothing magical about me. Ain't no moon dust here. This is God's grace and the miracles of God. That's what we function on, because it's the only reason we're here and we survived slavery and all of that. But she needs some people who are going to tell her, you know, lift up your dad, because she lifts up her parents when she's talking about them. She lifts them up. She does that. But she has to do that consciously and conscientiously and consistently, because we have to be sensitive to how other communities have attacked us. And I think black men have to become more sensitive to how black women are disrespected and mistreated and attacked. There's a whole lot of stuff that we absolutely. I'm clear on why some people come for me, but I need you to help me out too. I need you to fight as hard for the vote for me as I patiently waited for you to get the vote. When that amendment came, I was clear that I was excluded, but you know what? A win for you was a win for me. But you cannot subjugate me and bury me at the same time. I have to deal with being an N out here in the world. I'm not going to be an N-word when I come home. That's something we got to deal with. But that's an internal conversation we need to have with that. Just because she is a woman and all that. Oh yeah, that's real, and that's awful and ugly. So and it's a waste. But I love you both. I'm back up on Facebook real quick. Is there anything, Daryl, you want to say? I'm gonna give you a closing remarks, and then Dwight, and then we're out.
Oh, absolutely. You know, folks, be certain to continue to dig in on this situation, learn more, and whatever way, if you know someone down in Georgia, contact them. Be certain that they're registered to vote and that they're pushing forward. We've got to be certain that we're getting our voters out there and that we're getting our community protected through our elected officials. With all of that, Santita and friends, thank you so much.
Oh, love you so much. And Dwight?
Stacey is brilliant and involved and empathetic, and she has worked real hard to turn the politics of Georgia around, and she deserves our vote and deserves our investment. She will get a great return on her as an investment. I encourage everybody to vote for Stacey.
Mm-hmm. And do not misinterpret anything that he said as a mark against Stacey, because that's not what this is about. This is about helping her to come up with a winning strategy. And you have to understand where people are and go there and go get them. Okay? So, you know, and we are always, everybody, we're stronger together than we are apart. That's why all people need to come together so that we can create a more perfect union. You don't make a more perfect union with a lot of pieces. You have to pull the pieces together and come up with a magnificent quilt. Whew, boy, I love you, everybody. Dwight McKee, thank you. Daryl, thank you. CK, thank you. Oh, Dr. Shanina Knighton, thank you. Pastor Tisha Dixon Williams, thank you, thank you, thank you. Love you, everybody. God bless you. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy your beautiful, beautiful Friday. Summer is going by too much too quickly. Love you, everybody. God bless.